Hi everyone, welcome to another LJHA community update. Now this one focuses on something called Section 20 notices. At the time of recording this, some of you will be receiving a Section 20 notice in relation to cleaning services, but I just wanted to explain a little bit about what is a Section 20 notice and why do we have to send things to our residents. So under Section 20 of the Landlord and Tenant Act 1985, we have to consult with all leaseholders, now that essentially means all residents, if we are planning to carry out repairs or improvements, and the cost of service charges for any resident or leaseholder is more than £250. If consultation isn't undertaken with you, we might not be able to recover the costs over £250 per resident. So it's in our financial interest to consult with you. We also need to carry out a Section 20 notice if we're planning to sign a contract with a company for what is called long-term works, which means longer than 12 months, and the amount payable by any resident is more than £100. Again, if we don't consult, the risk is we won't be able to recover more than a certain amount per resident. Now you might say, well, am I a leaseholder? The answer is yes. A leaseholder is somebody who owns or partly owns a property, so a shared owner, or a tenant or resident. So this means that anybody who has signed a lease or a contract should receive a Section 20 notice. We issue them because we have to. I know they might be fairly complicated, but we do need to issue them. Otherwise, there could be a complaint made against us. We also need to keep everybody informed about our plans. It also allows people to comment on our plans. So what do we actually have to do? There's usually three main stages. The first one is called the Notice of Intention. And this is when we tell you what we're actually planning to do, what work we're going to do, maybe any companies we should speak to carry out the work. You tell us you could approach this person or this company, and we will then look into that. And then we will make what we call observations. And that's really a summary of what you've told us after the first stage of Section 20. The second letter is called Notice of Estimates. This is when we've been to some possible companies, they've given us estimated costs, and we allow you to provide feedback on those. The third one is when the third notice is when we've chosen somebody, when we've started a contract, and we need to tell you within 21 days. And we will also write to explain why somebody's been awarded the contract. So there's certain wording that we have to use in the Section 20 notices, which is why we're making this video and we have various explanatory information, because we know it's complicated, there's various legal jargon, but we want to be able to explain to you why we're doing this. So there's this thing called an observation, and so you have the right to reply to us with an observation, that's a comment, an idea, or an opinion. And you can make these after the first notice and the second notice, and even after the third notice as well. Although after the third one, we've already chosen a contractor, but you can still tell us what you think. You can actually suggest any contractor that you want, but just bear in mind that the company in question will need to have relevant insurance and health and safety compliance. And you also need to remember that somebody you suggest will need to carry out work across LJHA, so they need to be capable of doing that. So it isn't a bill. It's important to mention this, that even though the companies we employ incur a cost to LJHA and we need to recharge that to residents, it's Section 20 notice is not a service charge notice. You don't need to make any payment in response to receiving the notices. But when the work is finished and we know the final costs, any adjustments for under or overpayment will be part of your annual service charge. And obviously your service charge will increase or decrease depending on the services and work which takes place in the building or street where you live. You can get involved in the selection process that forms part of Section 20, as well as obviously responding to the Section 20 letters. We also aim to involve LJHA residents, that's shared owners and residents who pay rent, as part of the shortlisting and selection process. And this may be part of one of our hot topic groups as well. Now, there's lots of information about Section 20 notices and your rights as a leaseholder. There's lease advice, there's the Leasehold Advice Centre, and the government also have a site which talks about housing tribunals. But we also have a dedicated page on the LJHA website as well. And of course, you can also contact the LJHA office on 0113 320 7777 or via email at info@ljha.co.uk. I appreciate this might seem very complicated, even though I've tried to cram all this into 5 or so minutes, but please let us know if you want to know anything more about Section 20. That's it for today, and speak to you all soon.